going to be the tutorial that's going to show you how to make this Lilly Pad Granny Square. And I took the name Lilly from my daughter because of her asking for the hat from her shawl that I made, the falling water shawl. It got me really in love with this stitch, so I decided to make a granny square out of it. This granny square is really diverse. It looks pretty and just solid color. Or you can do the final row in another color and really bring out that flower look. Also, if you do the center in white and then the outside in another color, it kind of looks like a snowflake. And I also went ahead and did it in multiple colors so you can see what it may look like. So for this project, and I'm also at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to sew these together. I think it's important because, as you can see, they're not completely even on the side, so you can't really do a direct sewing. So I'm going to show you a technique that you can use to sew these kind of granny squares together. So for this project, if you're making a granny square, obviously you're probably going to need a lot of skein. So depending on what you're making, but it's going to take less than a skein to make one square. It takes 4 ply for the U.S. and 10 ply for Australia. It's just regular worsted weight yarn, and it's also going to take 5mm hook or a size H hook. And I measured these squares, and they're just barely under 6 inches, so they're about 6-inch squares. And that's it. That's all you're going to need. So go ahead and grab your hook and your yarn, and let's get started. Okay, to begin the square, you want to start with a chain of 4, and then you want to connect to the beginning chain, and slip stitch to form a ring. Now chain 2, 1, 2, and then you want to do 15 double crochets worked in the center ring. The chain 2 counts as a stitch, so you start with 1, 2, 3, and continue around till you have a total of 16. It's very important to count your stitches. Make sure that you have 16. Remember, the beginning chain 2 counts as a stitch, and when you're done, you want to slip stitch in the top of the chain 2. Then for round 2, chain 2, and then in that same beginning stitch, go ahead and put another double crochet. And then in the next stitch, and in all the following stitches, you're going to work 2 double crochets in that same stitch. So again, 1 and 2, all worked in the same stitch. Continue that all the way around, and when you get to the end of your round, you should have 32 stitches. Okay, I just got done with round 2. And again, make sure that you count your stitches and that you have 32 stitches. Very important. And when you do, slip stitch in the top of the beginning chain 2. Then for round 3, you want to chain 2, and this is how you'll be beginning your rounds from now on. You're going to chain 2, and you're going to go back down in this chain 2 from the previous round, and you're going to do a front post double crochet. Then you want to skip the next stitch, and this round you're doing now is very crucial. You need to make sure that you always are grabbing the correct stitch. Sometimes these front post double crochets can hide over and you end up crocheting in the wrong stitch. So this is the post or the chain 2 where you did your front post double crochet. This is the second stitch. You want to skip this one, and then the next one you want to work a V-stitch. And the V-stitch in this round will consist of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, all worked in the same stitch. Then again, you want to find the stitch that you worked in. This is it. This is the post. So the next post, you want to skip that one, and then the following one, you want to do a front post double crochet. The reason why I'm taking you from this stitch to make you check that this is the double crochet it goes with, because again, when you go from this V-stitch and then you need to skip the next stitch and go into to do the front post double crochet, it can be confusing if you do not line up your stitches to make sure this is the correct one. This is the one you should be skipping, and then that's the front post double crochet. You really need to watch out for this row, because after this it's just working on the front post double crochets and then the V-stitch holes here, which are very easy to find. So, well, here. So you just need to make sure that you're putting everything in the correct stitches on this row. The first 3 rows are very crucial in getting the whole thing to work out right. Now you're going to be repeating this for the rest of the round. You're going to be doing a front post double crochet, then you're going to skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch you'll be putting your V-stitch. Again, the V-stitches are 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And again, I recommend going down, finding that this is the post the V-stitches were worked in, skip the next post, and then the next you'll put your front post double crochet. And this is what you'll be doing for the whole round. Skip the next stitch, and then the following one, do your V-stitch. 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Find the correct post to skip, and then the next one, do your front post double crochet. And at the end of this round you should have 8 of these little spaces, individual spaces. This is a front post, this is a front post, if that's one space, this is another one, this is your third. By the end you should have 8. And I'm going to show you what to do here on the very end, because when you get up here you'll have only 2 stitches left on the end. Okay, so you have 2 or 3 here on the end. Sometimes I have 2, sometimes I have 3. It doesn't matter, because you're going to have to do the same thing. What you want to do is go the further one close to the chain 2. This is the chain 2, this is the front post. So what you want to do is go to the closest one to your beginning chain 2. So if you have only 2 stitches, then go to the farther one. If you have 3, move all the way over to the third. So you'll be skipping 2 stitches if you have 3, skipping only 1 stitch if you have 2 stitches on the end. Either way, you want to go to the farthest stitch, and you'll be working your V-stitch in this stitch. Which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. And then you want to slip stitch, not in the chain 2, but in the beginning front post double crochet. And that will end round 3. Now for round 4, you want to begin by chaining 2, and again you're going to come back, find that front post, beginning front post double crochet, and do a front post double crochet on that. Then you're going to be skipping over, and your V-stitches here. The V-stitches for this round will be different. You're going to be adding 1 double crochet to each section of the V-stitch. So instead of doing 2 double crochets, you're going to be doing 3 double crochets. So you do 3 double crochets, then chain 1, and then do 3 double crochets on this side. And then you'll find your next front post double crochet, and you'll work a front post double crochet on that. Then again, find the center of your next V-stitch, and you'll be working your V-stitch the same way for the rest of this round, which will be 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then 3 double crochets. And then you'll move over, find your next front post double crochet, and work it on the same front post double crochet from the previous round. You'll be doing the same thing in each one around, and at the end you should have 8 spaces. Okay, when you get to the end of round 4, again you'll want to slip stitch in the beginning front post double crochet, not the chain. Now this is where I switched colors when I did my other, like this one. I really wanted to show the flower out really well. This next row here, you're going to be turning it more into the square and more away from the flower. So if you wanted to have, you know, something like this, the snowflake or the flower one, then this next round would be the one you would want to switch your colors. So, and if not, then let's just keep on going. Either way, we're going to keep on going. So for round 5 in the final round, you want to do a chain of 2, and then again, get a little closer here. Again, you want to front post double crochet in that first stitch. Okay, maybe I'm a little too close. So in the next 3 stitches, and make sure that you get this first stitch here, these first 3 double crochets that make up the V-stitch, you want to put 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. And then you want to chain 1, and then you're going to skip this center stitch of the V-stitch, and you're going to come over here to these next 3 stitches of your V-stitch, these double crochets here, and you're going to put 1 double crochet in each one of those. And that's how you'll be working each of your center sections. It'll be a center section, a corner, center section, corner. So we did a center section, so now we're going to do a corner. So when you get to this front post double crochet area, you always do a front post double crochet on that. Then we're going to do our corner area. Again, you want to double crochet in these first 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. But for the corner ones, we're going to be actually working in the V-stitch itself. And you're going to do the same kind of V-stitch that you did last round, which was 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then 3 double crochets, all worked in the same stitch. Then you're probably going to have to pull your stitches over so that you can see this first stitch, so that you can put 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets, the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll do a front post worked on your front post. And that completes your corner. Now you'll be doing another middle section like this one, which is putting 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets, then chain 1. You'll be skipping the V-stitch hole here and just going right into the next double crochets and putting 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets. So you're going to put 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets of the V-stitch, chain 1, skip the main V-stitch hole here, and hop on over and do 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets. Then front post double crochet again, and then you're ready to do your next corner, which again, you're going to be working 1 double crochet in these first 3 double crochets. Sorry, I was fighting with my yarn there. And then again in the center for the corners, you'll be working your V-stitches as you did last round, which is 3 double crochets, all worked in the center of the V. Chain 1, and then put another 3 double crochets worked in that same stitch. And again, you're probably going to want to pull over those stitches so that you can find this first stitch, because you want to work 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. which will complete your corner, and then you'll do your front post double crochet. You can see how it's starting to become the square. This is where we started. This is our center pieces. This is our first corner. Then again, the center section, corner. And we're about to do our next center section. Then you'll have a corner, then your next center section, and then your corner. And then you'll be done with this section. So continue doing your corners and center sections the same way until you get back up to the end. When you get to the end of your round, again, you'll be slip stitching in the beginning, front post double crochet, and not the chain. Then you just want to chain one and you can cut your yarn. Let me just move this out of the way because I want to show you guys how to sew these kind together. Now there's lots of ways that you can do these. Let's find one that's actually easy to see on camera, because they have these, you know, uneven. I'm going to go and use this method that goes and uses a chain to go back and forth. That way the chain is loose, so it will push and pull where it needs. That's the most square way I've been able to find to connect these squares together. So get the kind of yarn that you want to use. And this method recommends you can use a single crochet or slip stitch. And I tried single crochet first to see if it would work, and it leaves a very clear stitch along the way. So I can show you a picture of that. So I didn't like this method very well. So I think the slip stitching method will be much better. So your first square, you want to be working with coming in from behind here. And this is the main V-stitch area here. I don't want to go right into my V-stitch area. I want to go to the one on the next to it, the first double crochet here. So I'm going to slip stitch my color onto my first double crochet. Then I'm going to grab my next granny. And I had it like this. I had one this way and one this way, so I can work easy back and forth. You want to find that same stitch that you used on the other granny square on this one as well. So again, you don't want to use that big old stitch. You want to use the first double crochet here. And whoops, before you do that, you want to do your chain 2. 1, 2. Then you find the correct stitch, which is this first double crochet here, and you slip stitch. Every time you slip stitch, do a chain of 2. And then you want to skip a stitch on this granny square. You'll always be skipping a stitch in between each slip stitch. So you'll skip a stitch and slip stitch in the next double crochet. Then again, chain 2. Find the next granny here, skip the next stitch, and then the following stitch, do a slip stitch. Chain 2. Find your next stitch on your granny, skip a stitch, do a slip stitch. Chain 2. And I'm coming in from behind, as you can tell on this one, and then this one I'm going in from the front. Skip a stitch, and then I'm going in through the front here. Chain 2, skip a stitch, then I'm going in through the back over here. Chain 2, skip a stitch, then slip stitch into this one. Chain 2, skip a stitch, slip stitch into this one. This big old space here that you have, I just go into the whole space and slip stitch. Then I come over here and I'm going to go into that big old space, slip stitch. Then skip a stitch, slip stitch. Just going to keep doing this till I get to my end here. So I can show you how to add your next granny. I usually like to make all my grannies and then connect them all going one direction and then connect them all going to the last direction. Okay, this one my skip stitch ends up being right into the big hole here. Oops. And that's what you get. You can kind of see it's kind of poofed up here, but when you stretch it out, it'll be more even here. It may poof up slightly here where the 2 points meet, but because it's such a loose connection, it will come up. It's not like you'll have a lot of space in between, and they will be warm. And if it pulls, then it's still going to be not so bad. It's the best connection that I've found so far for these granny squares, since they're not so flat here. When you're ready to add your next two, again, I'm going to turn my work this direction. I'm going to turn it this way until I can connect this one. When you're ready to connect your next two squares, I'm going to go ahead and do your chain two. I'm going to go into not the center one just like before, but I'm going to go over to that first double crochet and do a slip stitch, chain two, find the first double crochet on this side from the big loop just like we did before, and I'm going to slip stitch here too. It's harder to see with the black. Then chain two, come down, skip the first stitch and go into the next. You'll be doing exactly what you did before. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, chain two, skip a stitch, slip stitch. So continue to do this one until all of your granny squares get connected down this direction. So you going the other direction. Once you sew all of your granny squares up this direction, you start on this corner exactly the same way as you did. But when you get to an intersection here, and the place that I would usually do my connection is already taken by another stitch here, but that's okay. Where is it? Here. You want to go ahead and slip stitch in that same stitch. Finding my yarn. And then chain two. And then find the other place over here where you had your next connection. And you're going to come in and do another slip stitch here. So you're going to be using the exact same places that you did before, but this time you're going to be crossing over. You can tell by the different color. Then you do your chain of two. Then you come over here. This is the next place where you have your connection. You'll be skipping. Don't act like this one's already taken. Skip the next stitch like you normally would and do a slip stitch. Chain two, same with this one. This one's already taken, so skip this one and go into the next. And then you'll be right back on track again with skipping one stitch and doing the next. Chain two, skip a stitch, put it in the next. And that is how you will do your connections for your grannies. I hope that this tutorial was helpful and that you can make yourself a very beautiful granny square afghan or whatever you choose to make from these. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to my Facebook page, please take a moment and do that. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share my videos. It really helps me so much. Thank you so much for watching.